All right, we're back. Tasty Crypto Show. I'm Ryan Grayson. With me today, of course, Katie McGarrigle. Katie, what's up?
How you doing?
Pretty good, I guess.
Doing
Excited
all right?
to be back.
Yeah.
Monday, another one in the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right so far.
How you doing?
Doing okay. I've finished my...
You sure about that?
Oh,
You didn't sound very convincing
I
there.
fake it till we make it. Yeah. I finished my samurai arc.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. So I'm off the sauce until after the wedding. That was my rule. So no more games for Katie for now, but you guys can check back in 7 to 8 weeks. See what I'm doing. I did convince your brother to play, though, the game that I was playing.
Well, it doesn't take much to convince him to play video games, just not at work. So is it just eating into your productivity ahead of planning for the wedding, getting that all taken care of? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand the connection here. No video games because of the wedding?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Like, you know, when you have such a finite amount of time to do the tasks that require needing to be done for
Yeah.
the massive party that you're throwing, it's like, okay, do I spend 2.5 hours dissociating and running around killing Mongols, or do I actually buy shit that's really important for the actual wedding day?
Yeah. I think you could do a little bit of both, honestly, if you just kind of, box your time.
Don't tell my fiance that.
Schedule it.
No, I'm setting boundaries. I have to, I need to like read books and or just do wedding planning stuff
Okay.
from here on out.
Fair enough. The
Yeah.
chat loves it. If you're not in the chat, get over to YouTube. Tasty Live is the channel. We're streaming over there, and we've got the live chat going. So if you want to type some crazy shit into the chat, well, you know what to do. Let's see who's in here. We got Mark, Katana.
Yeah,
Emmett.
Mike. What's up, peeps?
Oh, there's a few, Katie.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Grumpy Mike, what's going on?
What's been going on in your world? Anything, have you been doing any new restaurants?
Just crypto prices going higher every day. I'm $1 closer to just riding my jet ski across the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay. Like
into the
Kenny Powers
sunset.
style?
Yeah, something like that.
All
It's
right.
been a dream of mine for a couple of weeks now.
Are you a jet ski boy?
I could be.
Okay.
Yeah. We send out the Tasty Crypto midweek market update every Wednesday morning. And if you don't get that, sign up over at tastycrypto.com, hit that newsletter link. But the reason why I bring that up, it's a plug, of course, but we've got a little jet ski at the top. A little kind of nod to my fantasy.
Okay.
All right.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I like riding a jet ski. I've only done it a couple of times. I did do it down in Key West, which was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
But we had some kind of choppy water that day, so I felt like I was just like breaking the
Then you can
fiberglass.
ramp it out of the water,
Yeah, no, I
Not your
don't.
thing.
I want to do like, I want to be like jet skiing on glass, like style. Like that's how smooth I
not
want
fun.
the water to be. I know. I guess I have like a little bit of a taste for the adrenaline, but not that much.
Okay.
I don't want to like ruin my
Yeah.
grip.
Well, I mean, you can
nails.
only fall off if you fall into the water.
Yeah, and there hasn't been like tons of sharks in and around, Florida
That's true.
for quite a while. Thanks, climate change.
Well, maybe you just jet ski in Lake Michigan eventually.
Yeah, there we go.
Do
Yeah,
a jet ski day.
I need to find some friends with some jet skis in Lake Michigan.
Oh, we get ETH up to like 5K. We'll just rent them.
Yeah, speaking of, I covered my ETH.
Hell yeah.
So
So
took some
presumably
winnings
that
off
means
the
you
table.
sold out of your position.
I did.
Okay.
Yes. I had been long since the low 2000s.
Nice.
So, with using like just dollar values of ETH. So I had been layering into that since probably when you and I started the show back in November.
Like a few thousand here, $250,000 there.
Yeah. Chump change.
Yeah. But no, I hear you. So just buying a little bit here and there, and you get to a price where, we're not at all-time highs, but we've gone straight up for the majority of this month.
Yeah.
We can talk about whether or not we're overbought. I mean, I'm seeing some signs that, you maybe see a little bit of a short-term kind of exhaustion here.
Sure.
We'll see. But yeah, I think it's a great place to take some profits. If your range has been 2 to 4, you're pretty much at 4.
Right. Yeah. So felt good about that. Like I said, $200 in my pocket now, which feels great. But like you said, and looking at, the preview of the slides that you're going to go through, we've just got a sea of green.
We do. Let's jump into these slides here. It's stablecoin summer.
Hell yeah.
Stablecoins have been the theme. We're going to talk about the big release on the tastytrade platform and give you a peek at that and a demo, I suppose. I mean, it's just transferring funds, depositing funds, but you can do that with a stablecoin now, Katie.
Yeah.
So we'll show everybody how to do that if they're not familiar with it. That was launched quietly, a little soft launch, I suppose, on Thursday. You'll start to get some of those customer emails, and you'll see it throughout the platform and on other spots on the website. But you can now deposit stablecoins if you want to fund your account 24/7, instantaneous.
Well, and that's what I think is so like when I sit back and like actually really think about it, how archaic like the traditional system is, and how we've all thought for a long time, oh, it's normal to have to wait like 2 business days for something to clear before you can actually like jump in the car and drive it. Like, and now we have just a way quicker means of doing that, right? So
yeah, it's
I think
pretty
this
cool
is a
when you
great
see
addition.
it live. You see it in person.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person.
Well, we'll do that towards the end of the show. But before we do, let's just run through kind of what we're seeing in the market. Katie taking some profits with ETH north of 3,800. We've pulled back a little bit here intraday, but we've got Bitcoin near an all-time high. ETH's not quite there. Solana and the majority of the rest of these aren't really at all-time highs, though they're trading a hell of a lot better than they have been. And it's been pretty quiet in the market for some time, right? The volatility that we're used to in crypto hasn't necessarily materialized. You're starting to see a little bit of a pop there. We do have a few tokens that are now well over 100% vol, which you only really see in these big rip-roaring kind of bull markets. But yeah, a lot of green on the screen, as you mentioned. ETH up 143% in the last 3 months. Litecoin, XRP, Doge, you name it, it feels a lot better. That said, again, not many of these are at or near all-time highs, aside from Bitcoin. So what you are seeing is a bit more volatility come back into the market and a big bounce off of, in some cases, off of the lows, or that's been ongoing for a month or so. But we're looking at tokens that at one point, many of these were down 60, 70, in some cases 80%. So you are getting a big move off of the bottom. I do think that they've bottomed, but I don't think that this is it, or that it's the end of alt season and it was short-lived for a period of like 2 days.
Yeah. No, this is great. I mean, what have you been most surprised by? Any of it?
Yeah, honestly surprised that some of these tokens that were a little bit more prominent last cycle are just having a huge move here. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I look at things like Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, XRP continues to do well. It's one of the few that's actually outperforming Bitcoin. So up 47% year to date versus Bitcoin, quite the move. But, a little surprised that you're seeing some big moves here recently in things like Cardano. And again, maybe I shouldn't be. XTZ, Tezos, XLM, Stellar Lumens. Maybe they don't need a narrative. If they have a narrative, I'm not sure what it is, aside from just a massive move in price here. But this XLM move has just been absolutely monstrous, up 100% in the last month. And it's a good reminder of, just how quickly things can move both up and down in crypto. But a lot of times there's this knock on the space in terms of spot cryptocurrencies because you don't have the ability to trade with leverage. You can't go short. You can only buy it. And obviously you can trade the derivatives. You can trade listed futures. You can trade perps in some places now. But you really don't need that much leverage when you can move 100% in a matter of a week.
Right. Yeah. And especially when you're looking at the actual prices of some of these coins, like we've talked about how I've likened them to super cheap stocks or penny stocks even before.
I think that's fair.
And like you're saying, like, yeah, sure, maybe you're not getting like the leverage of what you could get if you were in like a portfolio margin account trading a certain type of future, but like you're saying, in 30 days, if I can double whatever my investment was in one of these coins, like that's pretty, and granted, it has the opposite effect as well, but that's a pretty powerful thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, they can go down, obviously. They have. And we've experienced these boom bust periods or cycles throughout time. And what we've seen is these massive upside moves, exponential upside moves, and then you get a 50 to, I don't know, 70, 80% worst case scenario drawdown. Sometimes things just go to zero and never come back, but Bitcoin isn't something that's gone to zero, you know. It is volatile at times, but again, crypto historically has been an asset class that has this asymmetric return profile, meaning there's a lot more upside than there is downside. Obviously, it can only go to zero. We're looking at tokens that in many cases historically, and it doesn't mean that it's going to happen in the future, but looking backwards, you know, we're looking at returns hundreds of percentage points a year, thousands in some cases, versus, you know, that downside volatility, which does exist. But, you know, typically this is attractive as an asset class because there has been a lot more upside. And I think you could say that of a lot of equities as well, but a lot more upside than downside, at least historically.
Would you say that this is all, or a large contributing factor is just kind of this whole crypto week narrative that has been in the news the last few weeks? Or
yeah, I think to some extent that definitely helps when you have an evolving and positive kind of regulatory environment or positive developments on that front. So you've got the Genius Act, which was passed into law. That's the stablecoin legislation. You've got the Clarity Act, which is going to look at, you know, what role does the CFTC play in terms of regulation, and the SEC. How is that defined? You have the anti-CBDC, central bank digital currency, kind of privacy act as well. But, you know, the big pieces to this are the Genius Act and then the Clarity Act and that market structure that we should get, or kind of the rules around that as a result. So I think that definitely helps. But you're seeing large institutional participation, big flows into Bitcoin ETFs, into Ethereum ETFs. Presumably, if you get other ETFs, Solana and a few other larger market cap tokens, I think you will see that. You know, you probably see some flows into those over time. Mm-hmm. You likely get staking for the ETFs, so that should further kind of incite some capital inflows, I would imagine. But you're also seeing these treasury companies spin up, where now we have companies that are via SPAC are going public, and their sole initiative is to make money through, I'll call it Ethereum-based on-chain activities. Mm-hmm.
What's the big one right now?
The big one that just launched on the Ethereum side is DYNX.
Okay.
So let me see if we have the, and I think it just went.
Because I know Nick Batista was talking to me about one on last Thursday's show with the boys, and I know you were on with them today.
Well, I believe there's SBET. There's a few other treasury companies around Bitcoin, around BitTensor. Tau is the symbol there. But Dynamics Corp, DYNX, I think if I can find the symbol, it should be trading, I want to say it was supposed to go live today, ETHM. This is the Ether machine.
Ether machine.
Yeah, so I don't have that symbol here when I'm looking at the tastytrade platform, but I do have DYNX, Dynamics Corp, which I think was the SPAC, up 17% today. But you've got these companies that are just buying cryptocurrency, putting it on the balance sheet, looking to participate more in those respective ecosystems, on-chain, generate yield via activities. Maybe this is a big kind of red flag. I don't know. I think it's still pretty early, but this is driving activity.
Yeah, definitely.
In that sense. And, you know, you're also in a market environment where, look, the S&P is at an all-time high. Yeah. The NASDAQ, tech stocks, things are trading very well in this environment. We've talked about how it's an environment where there's likely, you know, an inflection higher in terms of the rate of change of inflation. Maybe you get the growth, maybe you don't, but you've seen a bid for energy. You've seen a bid for energy companies. You've seen a bid for inflation-like proxies, gold, copper, Bitcoin falls into that category. So I don't think it's any surprise that in this macro environment, crypto is doing well. It's an environment in which you would suspect that it would. And you're now starting to see that flow into a lot of these other alts or smaller market cap tokens.
Speaking of the ETFs, have you been doing anything within them that you've been posting on the follow feed? I have not stalked anybody on the follow feed lately, but I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't posted any options trades there. I've just been taking some flyers.
Sure.
You know, maybe I should post them, but just buying, you know, the 30 strike calls in ETH with a couple days to go. At times I've been trying to run the wheel strategy
Okay.
in IBIT, but I've never been assigned the shares on the downside. We've been in a pretty bullish market environment. So you sell the puts, they expire worthless, or you take them off for a couple pennies. Haven't been in a situation, maybe once, where I've rolled, but haven't taken assignment of the stock. So haven't sold, or the ETF, haven't sold any calls against it. But those trades have worked, and even though, and I'll just jump over to our volatility dashboard really quickly, even though you have very low implied vol, right? Here's the Bitcoin DVOL. This is from the Deribit Options Exchange, but Bitcoin implied volatility 30-day basis. Let's say it's right around 40%.
Sure.
Still gives you an IV rank that's close to zero. But when you look at that against 30-day realized vol, you have a 40% premium in there. Relatively speaking, the options are cheap, but there is still risk premium. There's still volatility risk premium in there to the tune of about 40%. So you've been able to get paid as long as that volatility continues to trend lower. I think at some point it goes higher, but it's been working. ETH, on the other hand, still have a premium in there, but implied volatility is getting a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. What do you feel like would be, you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think would be kind of the biggest catalysts for a shift in any of the performance? Let's just say by the end of summer, would it be just a change regulatorily?
In terms of accelerating us to the upside or downside risks?
Either one. Yeah. What are your kind of...
I think the downside, let's start with the downside risk. I mean, in my opinion here, the downside risk is the macro environment, the backdrop. We've definitely seen at times heightened geopolitical risk here over the spring and summer. We've seen correlations go to 1. We've seen kind of these volatility explosions that seemingly come out of nowhere. And crypto is not immune to that. Correlations go to 1. You see a very strong inverse correlation between, let's say, Bitcoin and the VIX. I think that's probably the biggest risk here right now in the short to intermediate term, is that you just get into a macro environment that slows down rate of change of growth, rate of change of inflation from a macro perspective, across the economy. You just start to see that slow down. That's where you get the recession fears, the calls for that. It could be coming at some point. I just don't see that, on the immediate kind of horizon.
Sure.
But you'd see that reflected in other parts of the market. You'd see that in equities. You'd see that on a sector basis, factor basis as well. So I think that's the kind of bigger downside risk just immediately.
Yeah. In which case, like you're saying, if you just have a portfolio in general, you got to stay small. You got to stay on top of it.
Yeah. I think the larger kind of upside catalyst, though, continue to just be the liquidity profile in the market. So you've got rates still about 4%. Presumably they come down over time. Now we have an upcoming FOMC meeting here, an announcement, and it looks like today there's no change expected in terms of the Fed funds rate. But I think if you see rates lower over time, you have looser kind of financial conditions or more conducive financial conditions. Global liquidity, if you track that, there's some charts going around on X, seems to imply that you're going to get higher crypto prices because the backdrop has been pretty positive from a liquidity perspective. And I think, in this market environment, as long as you've got that as your backdrop and you continue to get regulatory clarity, you get that FOMO bid, price kind of feeds on itself in this reflexive nature. So if you take out some levels, that's the catalyst itself. Let's say that ETH goes to a new all-time high, breaks above 4.45, and now, boom, you could see a short squeeze up into 5K, if not higher.
And I'll be like, damn it.
Yeah. 3.8 didn't look so expensive at that point. But yeah, I just think that this is something that, in terms of where we are in the cycle, it gets a little bit more attention. It plays out in a similar fashion to what we've seen previously. My advice to everybody is to just have a number in your head. If you own a lot of crypto or you were buying back in April, it's tough not to be greedy in a market that moves as quickly to the upside. But just kind of look at it as if, hey, I made a bunch of money. This is a number where I can go and do this thing in the real world with it. Maybe that is how you approach it.
Yeah, I think we've all been, hypnotized by the parabolic behavior of any, whether it's crypto, whether it's the random thing Nick got me into the other day, the company that made the dire wolves. Like the chart's just going like this.
Is that wolf? I see some mentions of that in the chat.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. CRSP. I think is the CRISPR like lab.
CRISPR, that's the gene editing technology.
so, yeah.
Okay, that's back at the forefront. I remember back in like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
ARK Invest, that was all front and center.
Right, exactly. But we've all been like, wooed by looking at those charts where you just see beautiful green candles every single day. But I think to your point, you need to kind of have a number and hopefully have a little bit of conviction that you stick to it and or at least soften your position and then kind of see how things go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never a straight line. Sometimes we forget that, but it's important to remind yourself of it.
Well, say
the
that
market will.
Yeah. And okay, so we got 5 minutes left. So say that I do actually have some, I want to actually start to participate. Maybe I don't have any just
Maybe you have stable coins.
Maybe I have stable coins that
and you
want
to deposit them maybe?
Yeah. How do I do it?
Let's take a look at that. New feature just launched last Thursday. I suppose officially launched here today. We are super excited about this. The development team and everybody at the business has been hard at work for the last couple of months to deliver, Katie, stablecoin funding. If we can jump into our platform.
Stablecoin summer, so hot right now. Brett,
right.
Summer so over.
Stablecoin summer.
Charlie XCX who?
Right. If you have crypto enabled and you have crypto transfers enabled on your account, you can deposit 4 different stablecoins, one of 4 different stablecoins across, I believe, about 9 different blockchain networks. And you can do that by jumping over here to manage, go to my money, and then go to deposits. And when you do that, you'll see some of those old historic ways of moving money, such as a bank transfer, a check deposit. I wouldn't even know where to start there, so I can't help you.
Tin can with string?
We might have that if you scroll down. Wire transfer, and then here in 2025, what I think is going to ultimately win out, a superior funding mechanism, and just following the Genius Act being signed into law, stablecoin deposits. So if you click on this, I'll run you through it. You've got to have your margin account or your crypto enabled account that has transfers enabled on it.
Okay.
Then you click start deposit. You get this nice little modal that pops up, and I'm going to get my phone out too. You're not going to be able to see this, but this is where I'll do this off screen. And you get this deposit. You're going to be depositing through our cryptocurrency service provider. That's Zero Hash, as everybody knows. Click continue. Here are the 4 different stable coins that are supported. I would venture to say that we will support more over time. Sure. But USDC for US domiciled accounts is the most popular. PayPal has a stable coin. So if you have a PayPal account, you want to acquire PYUSD, you can use that as a funding source. So this is a little bit of a workaround, given that you can't fund yet with a debit card. And for a lot of people that are outside the US, this is a great way to fund your account using a stable coin, if you have access to it, whether that's through a crypto exchange or another financial service provider. Also have Ripple, Ripple Ledger, US dollar, and then US dollar Tether, which everybody's familiar with. That's about 60% of the total market cap of stablecoins, which is now up to 260 billion, Katie. We were quoting 250 billion just a week ago.
Jeez, Louie.
Or 2 weeks ago. So I've got USDC, and I have some USDC on Base. Base is an Ethereum L2. So is Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon's a scaling solution. A lot of different blockchain networks here that support Base, Solana as well. Whatever network you have the stablecoin on, you need to select here. So I've got USDC. I've got to confirm I'm sending it on the Base network. Continue. Get a little disclaimer here. Minimum deposit amount of $1. Max right now is $500,000. I will be sending slightly more than $1 and less than $500,000. So I have my wallet open on my phone. I've got my USDC here. And in any wallet, it's all pretty much the same. You're going to go and you're going to get that address. And here you can either copy the address, so you got the deposit address at the bottom, or you can just scan it with your wallet. I have scanned it. And now I'm going to send $10 over here. $11. It'll be a minimum fee, I believe, of $1. It's 30 basis point fee on the notional with a minimum of $1.
Not too shabby.
Well, depending on where you're at and what you've used previously, certainly again with transfers outside the U.S., you got the currency conversion, you have a time frame associated with that as well, so it could be a little bit more expensive or some friction there. But let's do that, and I'm going to send it. I'm sending it right now through my wallet, And we should see this pop up here in just a second. We'll give it a moment. But what this is going to do is, as soon as it's registered at the address on chain, this will go and you can see it'll shift to change the view. So deposit successful, you receive an email confirming that, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to just jump out of here and close this modal. And then we'll be able to see this in a couple different places. If I just look at my one-time deposits, here we are, 721. There's my $10 that's made it in there. If I go back over to the platform, I look at the history here, and you can see, let me just refresh this so it just pulls in the new updated history data here. There's our digital asset fund conversion deposit, AKA stablecoin deposit, $10 immediately available. What I love about this, Katie, is if it's Saturday and I don't know, there's a big carry trade unwind or something of that nature, and you know there's going to be some volatility on Sunday night when the market opens, or really at any point in time, and you don't want to wait for that ACH or even that wire transfer, which I think a lot of people do believe is like instant, and it's not. It also has a $35 charge for most banks associated with it, somewhere around there. But if you don't want to do that and you want those funds available immediately, this is 24/7. Obviously, you have to have stablecoins, so you need to get those from someplace. We do have stablecoin withdrawals coming soon, hopefully in the next few weeks. But if you have stablecoin, you can deposit it now through Zero Hash at tastytrade, and those funds are money good, ready to go, buying power available. You can trade on it as soon as it's deposited, which is 24/7 instant.
Sold. Love it.
Yeah, I've been using this more often. I have some stablecoins, and it's a good way to fund.
Yeah. And like you're saying, I mean, not like I literally just watched you do that in like 3 minutes. So if we're talking like jumping and striking where the opportunities are and when they're hot, great way to do so.
Absolutely.
And maybe if you're not even ready to do that yet, you can still enable.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if we jump back over there really quickly before we wrap up, if you do not have cryptocurrency enabled on your account. Now, you have to have an eligible account, which means you need a individual cash or margin account. And we're working on adding this to more accounts soon, more account types. But if you have an individual cash or margin account, you can enable cryptocurrency trading on it depending on where you live. There are certain regions that Zero Hash is not yet registered to do business in, but maybe is working on it. That said, if you're in the US, for example, you can enable cryptocurrency trading on your account, enable crypto, and then you can enable crypto transfers, just re-verify your identity, add 2FA for security purposes on the account, and you can do that all here in trading preferences, and you'll see that I've already got that enabled. This is also where you go to enable futures intraday margin, all the great features you want to add to your account, all the enhancements, I suppose. You can do that right here. But again, enabling crypto through the trading preferences on the web, or you can do that on the mobile app. And you can also transfer stablecoins on mobile too. This is on both web and mobile trading platforms.
Beautiful. Love it.
Awesome.
Don't even have to leave your preferred device.
Yeah. Wherever trade on the go, as we like to say, right?
Yeah. I love it. I think this is great. You know, like you said, there's a lot more coming in the crypto space on tastytrade. So this is just one of those other ways. Like you said, definitely a less friction heavy process than some of the other funding rails that are out there.
It's pretty cool to see it almost instantly. You just pop up there, you have the buying power ready to go.
Yeah, love it. You heard it here first.
Well, Katie, thanks for coming on the show. That's going to do it for our show tonight. We will be back. I will be back. Well, actually, no, I won't be back on Wednesday. I'm out of the office. Dan and Shelly will be back here with you. So tune in and show them some love on Wednesday for the Tasty Crypto Show. But I'll be back next Monday.
Beautiful.
Until then, I'm Ryan.
I'm Katie.
Peace.
Peace.